Hello, my name is Davis Gilbert and I am joined by Jack Canturis. We are the co-founders of Dimension Board Games and the co-creators of Invasion: The Conquest of Kings. This is the first of 3 Invasion tutorial videos that will go over how to play the game. This tutorial will cover game setup, starting a turn, and building. To begin a game of Invasion, the 2 blue mats are first placed side by side. This will represent water in the total map area. Next, the land tiles are shuffled, and the top one is placed in the center of the map. For a 4-player game of Invasion, players should use 24 land tiles. For a 3-player game of Invasion, remove 1 of each land tile before placing for a total of 20 tiles. Next, each player rolls a die to determine the turn order. Then, moving clockwise, each player takes a turn placing 1 castle on the map until they have 3 castles placed. Castles are placed between 2 land tiles and must be placed 1 road length away from other castles. The 2 land tiles that a castle is on determine what resources they can possibly collect. Once all castles are placed, players collect 1 resource card for each land tile their castles touch. This is their starting hand. A player with a castle on the coast can utilize port trading, which allows them to trade any 4 resource cards for 1 other resource card that they need. Castles by enclosed lakes cannot port trade. Lastly, the players take turns placing their king next to one of their castles. The king's army counter is placed in front of the player on the edge of the blue mat with 4 soldiers in it. This represents the king's army.
A player's turn starts when they roll the 2 6-sided resource dice. The player announces the 2 resources that are rolled. Then all players can collect their resources. A player collects a resource if they have a castle on the corresponding resource tile. If any player has 2 castles on that resource that was rolled, then they can collect 2 of that resource. Resources are scarce, so if a resource pile looks like it will run out, players take turns going clockwise, collecting, starting from the resource dice roller.
Players spend their resource cards to build roads and castles, buy soldiers and advantages, or respawn a dead king. Spending a resource card constitutes taking it out of the player's hand and putting it on a resource card pile. A soldier costs 1 crop and 1 gold. Soldiers spawn at castles, so they are placed on a land tile next to a player's castle, or in a king's army next to a castle. There can only be a maximum of 15 soldiers, either in a tile or in a king's army. A road costs 1 wood and 1 stone. A road is placed between 2 land tiles and must be connected to another road or a castle. A castle costs 2 wood and 3 stone. A castle must be connected to a road and at least 1 road length away from any other castle. If your king is defeated, it will cost 2 crops and 3 gold to respawn him. A respawned king is placed on a land tile next to a player's castle. A player can only have 1 king at a time. Advantage cards cost 1 of each resource. A player can buy and use advantage cards on the same turn, and they can use as many as they want on the turn, but once they are used, they are gone from the player's hand. This concludes the first Invasion tutorial video out of 3. As a recap, we discussed game setup, starting a turn, and building. The next tutorial video will cover combat, movement, and blocking. Thank you very much for watching.